I am a senior functional consultant with Meta4 and have been with the organisation for a couple of years. I have about 20 years experience in HR and HR technology. So my roles have spanned both generalist leadership HR roles and also project management roles leading global implementations of different HR technology platforms. So I think all of us are really keen to share with you some of what we've gleaned about talent management and the challenges that are out there in organizations, the challenges that you're all facing and the challenges that we're understanding and trying to interpret as we develop our Meta4 platform. So as Bettina said, I'll start off going through a few PowerPoint slides and just talking about some of the trends that we have identified through discussions with our clients and through wider research, and then Maria will take over and take the controls for a demo of our talent matrix. So I think, Bettina, shall we hide our webcam so that we're not distracting through the PPT?
Just to the audience, we will session a Q&A session, and at the end of the session we will try to answer as many as we can. So we will have around 10 to 15 minutes at the end to go through those questions that will arise, and I leave it to you, and we will disconnect for the purpose of the understanding of the presentation, also our webcam.
Perfect. Thanks, Bettina. So hopefully you can all see the screen here. Let me just stop my webcam here. So talent management and Meta4's talent matrix is our topic this morning. Just very briefly, the scope that we would like to cover, the importance of talent management, then looking at some of the key trends which contribute to that importance and really to the elevating importance of talent management within organizations. We'd like then to look at some of the ways that we see organizations responding to those trends and what are the implications for HR technology and HR platforms. And then for the second half, as I say, Maria is going to guide us through a demo of our talent matrix tool, just one of the many tools that we offer to help organizations in this area. So we've had brief introductions here, and I'm aware that different people will be joining us for the webinar. Some of you have worked with us for a number of years, and others perhaps aren't aware of Meta4. So just a very brief introduction. Meta4 has been working in the HR technology provision for over 25 years now. We've 1,300 customers globally, and as you can see, 18 million employee records. So really a very global organization. 100% of our focus is on HR. So we provide an integrated HR platform with modules covering all of the various elements. We're, within that context, very keenly aware of the importance of managing talent strategically and effectively, and that's our focus with all of our tools to enable organizations to do that better, more quickly, more efficiently. In terms of our investments, we reinvest 20% of revenue in research and development, and much of that is redirected towards talent and talent management. So as you can see, it's a big focus for us as we move forward. In terms of trends, we've identified 5 key trends which seem to be elevating the importance of talent management. The first of those is global markets. So whether it's market for product or for service, those are increasingly becoming more and more global. And along with that, labour markets are becoming more and more global. What does that mean? It means that those with the skills and the intellect available have a much larger choice of potential employers in global markets. Skilled employees will increasingly have more and more power to choose, and they can move with more ease than they've ever been able to in our globalized markets of today. A second contributing trend is the knowledge economy. So previously, managers were primarily concerned with managing tangible resources, so land or capital, capital equipment, maybe intangible such as brand and image. But today it's been estimated that 50% of GDP comes from knowledge-based skills. So it comes from our people, from the intellectual assets and skills that they have to offer. And that's only set to increase. So that means that those organizations who are able to best manage their people assets will tend to win in the markets of the future. So global markets led by a knowledge economy. These next three I'm going to just skirt over because we want to look at in a bit more detail in a subsequent slide. So technology, we're all aware of the importance of technology in all aspects of work life and home life. Demographic changes, we're seeing big changes in the composition of workforce, and career and work patterns, how we're radically altering the way that we think about careers, where the power and the determination of career paths lies. So let's look first of all a bit more detail on the technology side. So the impact of technology as an enabler really can't be underestimated in understanding some of the shifts that we're seeing in talent management. And the first area that it's really impacting on is jobs and job design. So technology results in jobs changing. We're seeing new types of jobs created that just didn't exist 5-10 years ago. With continual technological advancements, whatever can be automated will be automated. So in this type of space and environment, we're seeing knowledge workers become the key differentiator. They alone are able to provide the innovation and the creativity to achieve a competitive advantage. So the way our job's designed, but also the speed and the transparency with which information can be passed is just revolutionizing the area of talent management. So employees, individuals can quickly customize what information do I want to receive, how often, how quickly. The data can be captured for analytical purposes. We're seeing increasing transparency in data. So tools such as Glassdoor and LinkedIn are enabling those employees to gain insights into the working culture of potential employers. And with social media tools providing employers with applicant information that's not been available up until now. So that transparency will quickly reveal if you are a good place to work or if you're not such a great place to work. And potentially that's going to only increase as more and more information comes into the public sphere. Finally, we have data and analytics. So more data than ever before is being captured. We all hear the statistics all the time and the powerful potential that gives for analysis. So recruiters are able to be much more specific about which channel for recruitment for candidates is working best for me. They can use predictive analytics. So not just looking at, I want to interpret past patterns from the data, but I want to use that in the context of big data to be able to predict what might work best for us in the future to achieve our business goals. So technology is one of the biggest factors that we see changing the way that talent management is handled in organizations. Demographic changes. We know that in most of the world and certainly in most of the Western countries, people are living for longer, they are often healthier, they're able to contribute for longer in the workplace. And so the implication of that is that we have a single workforce representing many more generations. We have narrower generational bands. So often a manager will be juggling a team which is composed of 4 or 5 different discrete generations. And you'll know that there's been a lot of research done that those generations tend to bring with them differences in their expectation of work, in the rewards, in their motivation, in what they find meaningful. And so in terms of talent management, the more that managers and HR and executives are able to really drill down and understand what generations do I have within this organization, how are they responding differently, do different compensation schemes work differently, what is the best ways to retain someone who's Generation X or Y or coming on to Generation Z now. So demographic change is causing another big change in talent management. And then finally, career and work patterns. Much of the work in this area has been led by Bursin, and they talk about an open talent economy. And by that they mean something that's much more flexible and fluid. You can see here from the graphic, it isn't a static organizational structure that we've been used to. It's always evolving. Teams form and reform depending on what the project is, depending on what the challenges are. And the workforce is certainly not restricted to permanent full-time employees. We're seeing a rise in contingent workers. So those with the skills to work anywhere, anytime, choosing their own assignments and commitments that suit the rest of their life. In a recent study of human resource officers, Bursin found that 83% of organizations are increasing their part-time and contingent contractor workforce. So a massive change that we're seeing and that looks set to continue within careers and work patterns. We used to hear about jobs for life. That's been gone for a while now, and employees were encouraged to manage their own careers, to move from one organization to another. And what we're seeing is that the most talented and entrepreneurial and skilled employees are able to do that very easily and very well in our web-enabled, real-time, fast-paced world. So many of these factors are leading to a very different pattern of careers and of jobs in our organizations, which impacts on how we handle talent and how we best manage it. So what are some of the implications that we can see here? These are all macro trends which have a dramatic impact on organizations as we manage talent. But in summary, we're saying your people, our people, will increasingly become the biggest differentiator. There are likely to be more potential employers chasing the very best of talent, and these people are going to have more power to determine where and when and how they work. So quite a shift in the power dynamics in the employment relationship that we're seeing to increase in the future. Now, I'd now like to conduct a little online poll in just a second, if the technology works. We should be able to see the poll online. Let me just, this is my first time with this particular technology, so.
We're seeing it, at least from this side. So.
Yeah, okay, great. So if you can just respond to that, the poll question, how easy is it for your organization to attract and retain the critical talent that you need to achieve your organizational goals? So the evidence that we've seen is that it's getting more and more difficult for organizations to attract the talent that they need. It's rising up the list of organizational priorities. So we have Towers Watson a couple of years back was saying almost 3 in 4 organizations are reporting difficulty attracting critical skilled employees, and more than half of them report difficulties in retaining them. 60% of companies are citing leadership gaps as amongst their top business challenges. Over half executives see critical roles in their ability to obtain the senior managerial roles that they're going to need in the coming years. So let me just close that, and then I think I should be able to share the results. Okay, can everyone see the results there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, the technology's working. So no one in our audience today claims that their organization has this sorted, and is finding it very easy or easy to attract. We're seeing a split of about 3/4 saying it's moderately difficult and 25% saying it's very difficult. So those figures are aligning with much of the work that's done by PwC and the Boston Consulting Group and other researchers who are finding this is really the same across the board. So it doesn't seem to be restricted to one geographical area or to one sector. We're seeing these trends all across the boards. So it's good to see that that's borne out in our audience today. Okay, so hopefully you can see the presentation again now.
Yes.
Yep, great. So let's have a look at if these are some of the big trends, and they're certainly causing talent issues, then let's look at what are some of the organizational responses. The first is organizations are needing to be much more strategic. So in the past, it may have been sufficient to address talent issues at an operational level, but not anymore. We're seeing talent management really elevated to a strategic level. CEOs, executive teams include talent when they speak about their top priorities. We're seeing strategic planning involving future forecasting of needs, trying to understand what are our critical talent groups, which are the ones that really differentiate whether we achieve our business goals or not. Ensuring that organizations know how they're measuring talent and how they're analyzing where their best talent comes from. So a much more long-term strategic approach which is owned by CEOs and by CHROs throughout organizations. The second trend that we're seeing is a willingness to differentiate between different talent groups. So not applying a blanket approach and saying we will dedicate this resource to all of our employees regardless of which talent pool they're in, but saying strategically we need to differentiate. We need to understand which groups of talent have the biggest impact on our results, and we need to treat them differently. We need to work out what motivates them, what attracts them, what demotivates them. We need to understand that different groups will behave differently with different organizational stimulus. And so the ability to and willingness to be able to say we will treat people differently dependent on their talent. Another key trend is much more consistency across global organizations. So even a few years ago, it would have been much more normal to see a global multinational organization with very diverse approaches to talent and talent management, depending on the region or the country that was operating. The disadvantage of that clearly is that it makes movement of talent globally, awareness of opportunities, ability to talk about talent in a way that's globally understood and measured, makes it much more difficult. And so we're seeing many more organizations who are having a globally consistent approach to how they manage their talent. And then finally, a much more future focused. So not focused on, I need to fill the needs of today, I need to fill my vacancies. It's much more looking at ideas like talent pools, saying, can I build relationships now with potential candidates? Can I use some pre-screening assessment? Can I invest in making strong candidates, enthusing them about the organization, building strategic alliances with online communities and social media groups in order to align those people to our organization even before they become applicants? We're seeing a rise in the importance of succession planning to avoid the lost opportunities and the vulnerability of having gaps in critical jobs. And one of the other webinars, we're going to be talking a lot more about succession planning, some of the trends we see, and how our tools can help organizations to manage succession and pipeline. Talent metrics, we could go on, but very much more organizations are needing to be long-term and strategic. They're needing to understand which are the critical groups of talent, to be consistent in their approach globally, and to look to the future and be prepared for the future. So we're just going to try a quick second poll here. So the question in this poll is, what do you think is the link between having a talent strategy and being in the top 25% of organizations in achieving their business outcome? So hopefully, hang on, let me launch that one, and then you might be able to see it. So there's a summary of the question. We had to phrase it quite succinctly on the screen. So let me just talk about it. Some organizations have talent strategies, others don't. And Burson conducted some research and found that there is a link between whether an organization has talent strategy and the likelihood that it's in the top quartile, the top 25% of organizations achieving their business outcomes. So what we're asking is, how strong do you think that link is? How much do you think it matters if an organization actually has a strategic approach to talent, has an outlined talent strategy that they follow consistently? And I can see results coming in now. I'll just wait. It looks like we've got 1 or 2 more people to vote. Great, 100% voted, thank you. So let me close that, and hopefully you can see the results now. So we can see here the results show 18% of you think it's 3 times as likely, 55% 4 times, and 25% 5 times. So let's just hide that, and we'll go on to the next slide and find out what Burson actually found in their research. So this is all from Burson. Their research found that organizations which perform well on business outcomes have a talent strategy. They found that, by contrast, organizations that were rated least effective on achieving their business outcomes, between 70 and 80% either didn't have a talent strategy at all, or they were busy implementing a new one. So here's the answer to the poll, and the audience was spot on, between 4 and 5 times. So an organization with a talent strategy is 4.2 times more likely to be in the top quartile of business outcomes. Again, their research found that that holds true whether it's a small or a large organization, regardless of industry sector, and regardless of geographical positioning. So very strong evidence that this isn't just all talk. Those organizations that do this and that have a strategic approach to talent achieve their business outcomes much more readily. So what are the implications then for HR technology in the light of this? There's really very simply 4 key implications. Who's using the technology? So yesterday it was mainly HR's domain. Organizations like Meta4, with provision of HR technology, would go and talk primarily to HR teams. They would be the users of the technology. But now, of course, usually every employee in an organization will be using a portal of some kind, employee self-service or a manager's desktop tool, to access their own data or their team's data. So a much broader group of users. When are they using it? 24/7, available anywhere from any device to fit the working life and the flexibility of global organizations today. What's the scope of it? So all aspects of people management being fully integrated. A system of record that's reliable brings together everything, so you don't have to go to one place for training and development, to another for recruitment, to another for succession planning, and to another for payroll. Everything's sitting in one system much more easily. Clearly you can have integration onto other specialist providers from that platform. And when do they use it? Again, the technology must clearly meet operational needs, but as we've been saying, it's even more important that it's providing the rigorous analytical tools that are needed for long-term decisions, for strategic support for talent decisions. So those are some of the implications that we've drawn out. Meta4's solution, our response to all of these, we do provide a secure platform, so all source data to manage talent is already available. It's in one place, fully integrated, and can be drawn out into whichever module you're working with. So we'll see today in Talent Matrix, that same data is available through Succession Planning tool or the Performance Management tool. We maintain continual investment, delivering new talent tools and enhancing our tools, working with our user community and with clients and customers to understand their needs more readily. And today we're going to focus on the Talent Matrix tool. So very briefly, some of you may know it as a 9-box or a 12-box. It's a management tool that plots performance on one axis and potential on the other. And it allows users to select any population and then see the distribution of talent within quadrants. So we talked about the importance of differentiating between talent groups, and our matrix really enables that. It's fully customizable. It's easy to decide how you want that to appear, and Maria's going to show us that. Easy visibility at a glance, visibility of talent spread, the segments. If there are particular challenges that you should be aware of within a particular population, those will be visible on the talent matrix. You can get the strategic view, but you can also drill down for the individual view. So those are just some of the key features that we've built in to try and make it the most useful that we can for customers. This is just a very brief glimpse of the screen, but I'm going to, I think we'll leave that slide. I'm just going to hand over now to Maria, who's going to take over for the demo. So let me switch my screen off. Okay, is that over to you, Bettina?
You will need to put Maria as a presenter.
Yeah, that's gone through my end, so hopefully that will work your end soon.
Yes.
Great.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Betsy. And well, for those who joined a little bit later and missed our introduction, my name is Maria Rodriguez, and I will be doing the demonstration of Meta4's Talent Matrix capabilities today. So first of all, what I would like to talk about is the configuration options that Betsy was mentioning right now during her presentation. So first of all, what we can configure is the number of quadrants we want to see in each axis. In the example that we have configured today, we have a 12-box grid, but of course you could just create an M-box with the number of quadrants that you desire. We could also define the terminology for the axis that we're using. In the example again, we are using a performance versus potential grid, where performance takes into account selected appraisal rates and potential is measured as one of our competencies in the appraisal process. But instead of this, clients may want to configure their information, for example, with an objectives versus competencies rating by using 2 different appraisal processes. Another configuration option that we have is the labeling for each box within the matrix. Customers will be able to label the different boxes as they desire, okay, depending on their needs. Some companies may prefer, for example, to label each box with a different name, as we did in our example, solid professionals, high professionals, etc. Whereas some others may rather choose to label the boxes with different letters, for example, which correspond to a percentage of raise in the employee's salaries. The last configuration item I would like to mention in this moment is whether employees are listed in each box or given exact placement within the boxes, okay? Depending on the performance and potential ratings. This is how my talent matrix is configured today, as we will shortly see. In the screenshot that Betsy showed, it was with the other configuration, okay? So once we have our matrix configured, we're going to be able to add the pool that we want to use and work with. Okay? For this purpose, we have this left column that you can see here, where I can select a work unit in our org chart. Well, you can see I can open the whole chart here. I could also select a job, a specific job. I want to bring all my directors to my pool. I could also select a previously created population or another talent matrix that I used before, or maybe find specific employees I want to bring into my matrix. Okay. In this case, I'm going to select a matrix that I was working with before. This is the sales and pre-sales matrix. I have all my sales population here. Let me just close this left column with the filters. We'll look at it later. So, as we mentioned before, we have our configuration, which allows us to view the exact position
of our employees in the boxes, depending on their performance and potential ratings. You can see they are all over the matrix. We can also distinguish 3 different colors surrounding the photographs of each of our employees: red, yellow, and green. You can see the differences there. So this color, what indicates is that it's the employee's risk of living. Okay, the red ones will be the ones with a high risk of living, whereas the green ones would be the ones without risk of living. So maybe we don't want to see this information, the colors distract us, so we could just delete this information by clicking on this button here. You can see there is lots of information that we want to, or we are able to hide, yeah, the information regarding the existence of successors for this employee, being key employees, the photo, or even the name. Maybe if we have a big population here, it's a little bit distracting, so we could just delete this information. At the top of the matrix, you can see here a number, different numbers with the total amount of people that we have in our matrix, the visible ones, the filtered, and the ones without a value, okay? So the visible people, of course, is the one that will be shown in our matrix, and we can see right now, as you can see, 14 people. We could just count them, and we would see that there are 40 people. And after that, well, we have the filtered people. We will see it later when we use our filters, and you will see how these filters work, and we will see the number of people that have been hidden in our pool, and the people without value. Okay, maybe someone recently joined our pool, and we didn't have time to appraise them, so we could just see that they are into our pool, but they don't have a value. In this case, we could just open this right menu here, and we can easily see that John Clark doesn't have a performance rating. So we could simply come here and say, okay, he had a good performance, so I'll just add it here. You can see that he appeared in our pool right now. We could also calibrate from here, okay, saying, okay, Arthur, I don't think he had a very good performance this year. I'll just change his performance rating, and it changes here. Okay. As I mentioned, calibration is one of the purposes for our talent matrix. So we could also calibrate by dragging and dropping our people through one box, through different boxes. We will have their profile here with the performance rates that we assign on the potential. And we could also select the risk of living if it's changed. We could select that this has been reviewed, add any comment, etc. Okay. We could also, I didn't know if you noticed that we have an option to drag people into the delete area if we don't want these people to be part of our matrix anymore. Okay, so once we have calibrated and we can just focus on analyzing the information in our matrix, it may be a little bit confusing to have too many people placed in our grid. So what Meta4 allows us to do is filter our population depending on the requirements that we are looking for. So let's say, for example, that I want to find those people who are nearing retirement. So I'll just use my age filter, select the ages I want to focus on, and see the information that we have here. For example, in the case of Nicholas, we can see that he is a key employee and he does not have a successor, so it may be interesting to create a succession plan for this person. Or in the case of Jit, we can see that he does have a successor even if he's not a key employee. See, another example could be, okay, we are opening a new office in London next year, and we want to find those people who have a possibility of international mobility. I'll just select them here. And of course, I need them to speak English because they're going to be in London. So I could simply select the people here. Once I have all this information, I want to open a new office. So it may be very interesting to have the historical data about their talent profiles. So I can click here in the historical view and see how they have moved across the matrix during the past years. I could also select this little button here to create a new pool with the people that I have been working with, and I will be able to use this pool across the different modules in Meta4. So if I wanted to maybe assign them training or do, I don't know, whatever we want to, we can just select the pool that we created from here. And if I wanted to go back to my original matrix and analyze the information that I had before I started doing all the changes, I could just click on clear all filters and start over. And this is what I had planned to show today, Bettina. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Betsy. I believe we can perhaps turn our webcams on, and we can go through some questions. For your involvement in this webinar. So, well, we are back again. If you have joined us a bit later, my name is Bettina Rodriguez. I'm in charge of the corporate marketing team, and I will be conducting a bit this Q&A. We have two questions that have come up related a bit to the tool.
Mm-hmm.
One that's related, if you're managing like too large populations, how many employees can you see, and how wouldn't it be a bit complex to manage the type of information on the screen? So perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps Maria, you were...
Well, so for our demonstration, we used a very small population, as you can see, just 15 people. But of course, we could just decide to drag and drop all our company here and see, I don't know, 1,000 employees in our matrix. So that would be very confusing. So we could just see the information with view percentages. So we could just see the percentage of people that we have in each of our boxes. In case we have a population of more than 300 people, we will automatically see it with percentages.
Then there's another question that has to do a bit with these arrows that you showed within the
historical view,
the matrix. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. So we have our talent matrix here that we are working with, and we want to see the historical data of our employees past year. So if we just click here, we can see how they have moved around the matrix. We can see that Elizabeth Davis' performance rating and potential rating for last year was this one that you can see here, and she has moved to a better performance and a better potential rate. So we could see how the ratings have been changing during the past years.
And I don't know, Betsy, this one perhaps you might be able to answer it also. If the data is changing within the talent matrix, how does that affect to the data itself within the complete platform? Are you changing the information directly there and it's applied to everywhere?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, and it's certainly one that's come up a lot as we've developed the tool. So if, like me, you've got an HR background and you know how difficult it is to calibrate performance and potential data, you probably had quite a bit of anxiety watching Maria slide people around so easily with drag and drop and delete them off, and you were wondering what's happening behind the scenes. So the way that we've configured the tool is that customers can effectively decide what they want to be happening behind the scenes. So there's different configuration options. You can either say this is a tool that we just want to use for scenario planning or for calibration, and we want the data to just change within the talent management matrix. So the data changes won't be reflected back on an employee. So if Maria goes in and changes John Clark's performance as she did to it exceeding, and if she now changes it back to meeting, then you can say that's fine, I want to save that data in this matrix, but it shouldn't be reflected in John's performance data. Alternatively, if your organization is at that stage where you really want to use this as your final calibration, you have all the key decision makers together discussing the matrix, you can set your configuration to say, no, I do want any changes to the data that we make here to be reflected in the underlying data in the platform. So again, it's up to each customer, depending on how they're managing their performance and potential processes, as to how they want the platform to work for them.
And well, and how does that fit? Everything fits together with other aspects of talent management.
Yeah, so that's again one of the other questions that a lot of people have had. This this looks great. How does it work with succession? Do I need to enter the data again, etc.? So just to reiterate, if you are interested in seeing other areas of our talent suite, then please do try and make it along to the subsequent webinars, because we want to show you the succession planning tool. We're trying to build exactly the same look and feel through all of the talent tools. So if data is, you can see here, Maria showed you data whether someone has a successor. So Elizabeth Davis up here in the top right hand corner, she has a successor. Arthur Lang has a successor. So all of the data is integrated throughout the whole platform. So again, as an HR leader, I may look at this initial screen that Maria is showing us. If you just close Elizabeth down there for a sec. So I might look at, and my first question is, what is this telling me about my talent? So first of all, it's telling me I've got a very broad talent distribution. But many organizations will targets to say, I want any population or quadrants, for example. So I can start to easily see, is that what I can see the risk of leaving easily, I can see succession gaps. So if I take the 6 people who are in the top 4 quadrants, I can, and Elizabeth, I don't have successors. So 50% of my top population are without successors, and that's quite a critical given that one of them is at high risk of leaving. All of that data is then linked into succession. Obviously, we're drawing real-time data from performance and potential. Competency data can be linked in here through the talent profiles that Maria showed you. So very much we're trying to both make the look and feel the same, but also ensure that the data is shared real-time through all of the tools on the platform.
Okay, thank you very much, Betsy. There's another question that has come in. Joanna is asking explain how the data of risk of leaving is being entered and how we can calculate the risk of leaving.
Yeah, so again, that's there's a few different ways that customers can decide how to configure that, but it's can be set up as an extended knowledge. Many organizations determine or assess the risk of leaving as part of an overall competency assessment, for example. So customers can set up an extended knowledge called the risk of leaving that can then be incorporated here. And so that draws in the data. As you see, when Maria opens the right-hand side and we see the raw data, can we see the risk of leaving data in that one, Maria? Is it showing up here? Yeah, so at the far right here, we can see the data that it's drawing on. All of that's coming from the personnel administration part of the module, where the data has been held for each individual. So there's a couple of different ways of doing that, but certainly, Joanna, if you're interested, then we can send you more details on exactly how the configuration is set up there.
Thank you so much. I believe we've reached the end of the session. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Maria. I just would like to highlight that at the very end, once we close the session, we would like you to fill in a very, very short feedback questionnaire. It's just two questions. One just if you like the session, and another one related to the other areas that you would like us to conduct any other new webinar. So if you can help us with that, that would be really appreciated. Have a very nice day, and we will meet you at the next sessions. We will send you some information on the next webinars that we will be conducting. So thank you very much, and enjoy your day.